Now that looks like a team that's ready to be in the top four. All right, everyone, welcome back to the American Blues podcast. Let's talk about West Ham Chelsea. 3-0 for Chelsea. What an amazing game to watch. Best game of the season. First true 90-minute performance. We were dominant from start to finish. Even when West Ham had their chances intact, their, share of the possession, we looked comfortable. We played hard. We defended well. All of our passing was crisp and on point. My goodness, finally, we're starting to pass like we're a professional team. Finally, every player seems to be getting good first touches, aware of what's happening around them, understanding how to link with each other, how to make little triangles, and of course, Jackson finally finishing like a striker should. And of course, Palmer adding on to his ridiculous stats already. So overall, incredible game. But let's start from the beginning. Let's talk about the starting lineup. I was actually hoping for Nkuku to start, just given how well he played in the last game. I think a player like Nkuku, with how clinical he is, I felt like maybe it would be beneficial for him to get a run of games, especially when he's playing well and Jackson has been missing some chances. But look, credit to Jackson, credit to Maresca. They made the right choice. Jackson was immense today. His link up, his back to goal. It was just, there's nobody else that can do it like him on the team. And we know Nkunku is not that kind of player. Mark Hughes not that kind of player. Actually, there's very few strikers in the Premier League that can play with their back to goal, run back into midfield and help with link up as well and as smooth as Jackson can. It was always a question of, can you finish the chances you're supposed to finish? And both goals, you knew he meant business today. First goal, West Ham just completely fell asleep, and Jackson had quite a bit to do. He was coming from a tight angle, great finish in between the keeper's legs. Second goal, amazing. I love this. I love this build-up, and it was all because of space created by Cucurella, Enzo, and Caicedo. Those three in the midfield creating a little triangle to play around the press, and then Caicedo spotted Jackson, who's actually way behind the defender, but he just got so much pace. And then cool little outside of the boot finish on the right foot. Kind of a strange way to finish, but hey, look, if you finish, I don't really care how you do it. And then, of course, Jackson involved in the third goal. Again, assist to Palmer, who actually took it a little bit away from goal and made it a tougher angle. But what a finish, hit it hard, right into the post, and then went in. Great for him. And then second half, I think the game started to die down just because I think it kind of looked like West Ham just ran out of steam and they had no clue really what to do. And then, of course, we made our subs, 5 total. It was Disasi, Neto, Felix, and Nkunku, and then, of course, KDH at the very end. And I felt like all the subs made sense. We were winning pretty comfortably. I think this early on in the season, it's important to load balance. Even though I think it's always nice for players that play well to stay on the field, we need to protect them. We have a really long season ahead. We have many, many, many games, and we need players like Enzo, Palmer, Jackson to stay healthy. So I had absolutely no issues with those subs. Even the Disasi sub made sense just because they put on Antonio, who is a giant box presence. So yeah, I liked it. And Fofana was having a little bit of a shaky game again, but overall not bad. But a few key highlights. Let's go over the overall game statistics. I'm just going to read off some stats. Look, 3-0. Expected goals, 2.34 to 0.87. We had 12 shots to their 15, but we had 5 shots on target to their 7. I believe it's not showing this one, but we made 5 big chances while they had 0. They actually had more possession and passing than us, but you know what? Possession doesn't matter. It's what you do with the possession that matters. The stat I want to focus on is that since May, Chelsea have more points than any other Premier League team at 25. That's incredible. I think that, and that crosses between a manager leaving and a brand new one starting, which just goes to show how much of an impact Maresca has had. And that goes to show just how much of an impact Maresca has had on this team. So we'll get on him a little bit later too. Number one, let's talk about Nicholas Jackson. He's gotten so much hate, even from myself, calling him he's not a striker, he's not clinical. But this game, he proved us wrong. It's just a question of, can you do this from game to game? You've shown that you can do it in one game, which is to finish all of your chances. But I want to see this from game to game to game. And you can see just how much of a difference it makes for this team when we play well and our striker finishes. It takes so much pressure off of everybody else. Palmer doesn't need to force things anymore. It can give Madueke time to actually look for a pass instead of just taking on things solo. It's just a big let off for the entire team. When everybody's playing well and our strikers finishing, this is a team that is clicking. We are working right now. And this is so good to see after last week when we had a really tough game and we had to grind it out. This game, we are completely dominant 90 minutes. So Nicholas Jackson, take a look at this stat. He's had more non-penalty goals at 18 than Solanke, Isak, Song, Salah, and Kai Havertz. I think he's incredibly underrated in the league. I think mainly because of his just completely crazy, egregious misses has had a lot of people laughing at him, making fun of him, saying, he's not good enough. And fair enough, when he makes horrible misses like that, I think they have a point. But when it comes to actual link up and then overall stats, he's doing pretty damn well. So good on him. Good on him for keeping his head down, for continuing to work hard, for trying to block out all of that criticisms, because that's not easy for a young player to just be constantly made fun of and berated week after week. So I'm glad he's clearly got a whole team behind him. Manager praises him every chance he can get, and clearly he's made him our starting striker for better or for worse. But for today, it absolutely worked, and I have no complaints. And then next player that I want to highlight, which I think there's a good question whether he deserved man of the match or Jackson, but Moises Caicedo, man, is he kicking on way faster than last season. First couple games he was a little bit shaky. Last game he was good. This game, I think he absolutely bossed that midfield, especially with Enzo. They looked like they were comfortable together. They weren't miles apart. They were playing little triangles, especially with Cucurella helping out in midfield too. And they just had a really good balance today. And Moises Caicedo, man, this guy is our absolute engine in the midfield. He is everywhere. He can make good runs. He can progress with the ball. He can hit that final pass. He can run back to defense. He can track runs. There was a period in the second half where he was going back to left back to help out Cucurella with Kudus. I mean, this guy is everywhere. And look at these statistics. No player has more duels in the Premier League game this season than Moises Caicedo. He won 13 duels. And he also made 8 tackles, which is the highest of any Chelsea player since 2019 by Marcos Alonso. Without him, our midfield would be in shambles. I think he's one of the most important players on the team. And it's a shame that we can't see Lavia, because I think Lavia would be just as impactful, and it would offer a good rotation between him, Enzo, and Lavia. One of them could get a rest if they need to. But for today's game, absolutely dominant. And, West Ham are a physical team. That's kind of their thing, is being a really strong physical team. And last year, under Moyes, they were really defensively solid and they would hit you on the counter. I think this year they seem a little bit confused, kind of stuck in between the old way and the new way with Lopetegui. So I think with time they'll become better, just because their attacking lineup is way too good for them to not be better than they have been. But overall today, I thought Caicedo was man of the match. I thought he was absolute boss in midfield. I always say midfield wins games. And this is the absolute perfect example of why that is. And I think another big shout out is for our defense. Apart from Fafana with that challenge, which we'll talk about later whether that was a penalty or not, but our defense was solid between Tosin, Colwell, Cucurella, and Fafana in the start. Tosin just offered so much calm and collectiveness in the defense. They held their offside line perfectly. I think between Tosin and Colwell, they both are really good on the ball, and that's dangerous for any kind of pressing team, because now they don't really know who to really focus their press on, because both of them can hit balls long. Colwell has some of the best through passes out to Jackson, and he's just incredibly press resistant. And then Cucurella today was just absolutely everywhere. He kept Kudus quiet, which was not easy. I don't think Kudus did beat him a few times, but I don't think this was a bad defensive job. I think it's just because Kudus is that good and that fast and strong. But still, Cucurella, even when he was beat, he managed to track back and either make a key interception, key block. And then whenever we were in possession, he was out in the midfield helping with build-up. And he's just so aggressive. This is how he looked for Spain over the summer. And Yeah, I said since like mid-season last year, Cucurella has been immense, and I still stick by that. I think Cucurella has one of the best comeback stories for us on the team, and I think he's really nailed down that starting left back spot. And he can invert, he can stay in left back, he can basically do anything you want him to do on that left side, and I think that is absolutely incredible. And apart from that, even Sanchez, he had another great game. He was strong. I don't think he made any errors in terms of box presence, cross collection, saves, or passing. I think it was all on point, all what you want from your goalie. If the ball was too high or too close to him, he came out and got the ball. Strong hands. He had good passes out of goal. He seemed very calm in defense, whereas last year, he seemed super nervous. Every time he had the ball, I was about to shit my pants. But you know what? The last 2 games, I have not had that feeling. He had another few really important saves. Yeah, overall, great. And look at the statistics. In the last 2 Premier League games, he's had 14 saves, 3.76 expected goals against prevented, and a saved penalty. And most importantly, for the entire defense, we have back-to-back clean sheets. That is so good to see, especially against teams that have a very strong attack. West Ham are no joke. Between Kudus, Somerville, 2 players that we wanted on our team. You can see they are quality. They can hit the ball. They are very strong with their dribbling. Yeah, those 2 are dangerous. And to hold that front 4 quiet from West Ham, I think our defense deserves a lot of praise. And I think our midfield deserves a lot of praise too for tracking back, putting in interceptions and tackles when they were necessary. And then finally, I want to talk about Maresca. I think this manager is the real deal. And I've been saying that for actually pretty much ever since preseason. I really liked what I saw in preseason. You can see the impact he's had, in just a little bit shy of 3 months to make this much difference to this team where we have a clear identity. We know what we were doing in defense. We know what we were doing in build up. We know what we're doing in the final third. We know how to press, how to track back, everything has been on point. And what's even more so is he got the starting lineup perfect today. And I think he got it correctly against a lot of people's expectations of starting Nkunku just because he scored the last game and played really well. And what I loved seeing today is that he recognized the mistakes of the last game, which is starting Disasi and right back. That was never going to work today. Not with Somerville's pace. We would have gotten absolutely torched on that side. But he recognized it. He recognized that Fofana athletically is way better than Disasi. And he recognized that Tosin, with his qualities on the ball, with his height, with his just calmness, fit central defense way better than Fofana would have. So perfect defensive shape and decision. And starting Sancho on the left because of the last game made a ton of sense. And I think Sancho had a pretty good game too, although he was a little bit less effective than the last one. And then, of course, we did not have a halftime drop-off. We came on and immediately scored the 3rd goal. That was another big criticism of last year, which is that somehow every single halftime we seemed to get significantly worse and came out with less energy, less idea of what we're doing. And this year, it seems like every half we are kicking right back on. If we're playing well, we're playing even better. If we're playing poorly in the first half, we're playing better second half. That's a sign of a good manager. He's saying the right things. He's making the right change. And of course, I agree with all the substitutions. Like I said earlier, we were already winning 3-0. We need to be resting our most important players when we're that comfortable in the game because we have a really long season. So I love all the changes. And I think it's important for players like Felix and Nkunku, Neto to show their quality and to continue to show the manager why they think they should be starting games. I think that level of competition is not only healthy, but extremely necessary for a team to be successful because everybody needs to push each other to their best. And then finally, were there any negatives from this game? I don't like being negative when we win so comfortably. I would say the only thing is I'm not disappointed with the game at all, but I think both Nkunku and Madueke would probably be slightly disappointed in themselves. Madueke had a 3-on-1 in the second half where, we were already winning 3-0, so I can't really even blame him for being that selfish, but he still chose the wrong option of trying to take the shot himself and hit the goalie. I'm sorry, if it's a 3-on-1 and you choose to be selfish, you have to score. Otherwise, it's all on you. That's a complete mistake. And of course, Nkunku basically had a free header in the second half and he hit it right where the goalie could save it. So, but all I can say is at least he was in the right position, right time. He hit the header with pace. It was just hit into the wrong spot. And that's okay. We're not really expecting him to score every game. But I think personally, he would probably find that disappointing. because you know he wants to be starting games, and the only way he can prove that to the manager is to come on and score and make a big impact. But besides that, the only other, I would say, minor nitpick I have is Fofana for that 50-50 penalty. I think it's one of those where if the ref called it, VAR would not have overturned it, and if the ref did not call it, VAR did not overturn it. It was soft. Was he pulled? Yes. Did he kind of embellish and turn and fall also to make himself look like it was a foul? Yeah, I think that's true too. So I'm glad that VAR did not get involved in that. I'm glad the on-field ref had the balls to actually make a decision instead of just relying on VAR. So overall, I think this is the best game of the season. I can't wait to see how we do in the games to come. Like, I am genuinely excited for the start of the season. I'm genuinely excited to see where we can take this. If we are looking this good after just almost 3 months under a new manager, man, I think we're in a really, really, really good spot. And again, we are now in the top 4. Yes, Arsenal have a game in hand. Yes, City still could, add on more points. But overall, like, I can't remember the last time we were in the top 4 this early on in the season. Usually we're like way at the bottom trying to desperately climb up. So this is a well-deserved difference, and I will 100% take this. So see you guys after the next game. Peace.